back again. Late start to the week this week. Let's get back into the den. Now, since the last video, it's absolutely chucked it down. In fact, we've had a bit of a storm again. Have you noticed how we always seem to name storms these days? But anyway, we've had another storm. It's absolutely thrown it down. Yet, we seem to be drying here, so that's good news. We do get some drips in that are coming from the main hatch, but this is why I put this little sheet over it, just to catch these drips. So a couple of dressing up jobs to do. First of all, I need to remove these. We don't need those lifting eyes anymore. 2 of them. Hopefully they come off okay. So now we've done that, we need to cut the centre part of that new hull plate because it's a little bit oversized. But I've got to find a good centre because the other plate that we're going to be putting in on the port side has got to meet up.
Before I do any cuts, however, I have a few checks to make. First thing I want to do is just make sure that the centre line, the keel part of the hull, is perpendicular to the stern. So I'm just putting a piece of angle iron in here and just making sure that this is parallel with the stern so that I can take a few measurements. What I'm trying to do here is create some kind of a datum that represents where the stern of the boat's going to go, so that I can double and triple check some of the measurements. Clamping 2 pieces of steel together like this didn't really work very well, so what I decided to do was try use some flat bar instead.
So in order to get this central line right, I've used 3 methods. I've measured the same distance from the back of the boat to this bar, which is the back of the plate, at each side. So this should give us the true stern of the boat. This is where the stern of the boat's going to be. What I need to do, of course, is make sure that this join in the middle is perpendicular to the boat. So the first thing I've done is I've put a steel straight edge in here, and on the steel straight edge I've put another bar, and that bar does 2 things. One, it runs on top of the original bar straight, so this forms a line to where that bar ends, which is about there. Now that's the first thing that I've done, and I've made sure that that's perpendicular, which it is. So that's good news. That means the back of my boat is perpendicular to the central keel of the boat. So that's good. The second thing I did was just belt and braces, is I measured the distance from there to there, these two stringers, and that bar is exactly in the centre. So I took the distance from there to there, I halved it, and that measurement was 20.6 or 206 millimetres, and that fell exactly on line 2. So several measurements just to reassure me that I'm going to be cutting this perpendicular to the boat. The challenge now though is just making sure we draw a line perpendicular, because that straight edge isn't exactly on the steel. You can see there the laser runs true, but what I can do with the laser is just move it to the side so that it just glances onto the steel, and then I've got a line to cut. So you can see there it is now just glancing onto the steel. You can see where my finger is. It runs along the edge. So I've got a line I can put my rule on and draw, and that is the line we should cut to. Now, there's been quite a few of you that have nagged me over the months about using a plasma cutter. And the reason I don't like using the plasma cutter is, one, it takes a bit of setting up, so you can't just grab it like you can with a grinder. Secondly, I don't find it as accurate as using the grinder. I find that when I draw a line with the grinder, I can cut that quite straight, quite neat. I've used the plasma cutter this time, and I'm nowhere near as happy with the cut that it's done. It took a lot of messing around. It tripped the power, so I had to go and reset the power. And I also think it's less neat. And I had to use the grinder anyway to get underneath and into the corners. The plasma cutter doesn't butt up to edges and things like that. That line is not as neat, and I'm going to have to take the grinder to it now and just clean it up anyway. So I'm sure the plasma cutter has its uses, but I don't find it anywhere near as accurate. Maybe it's me, my settings, maybe it's a plasma cutter, I don't know. But I don't, and that's the reason why I reach for the grinder for small jobs. I'm not saying I don't use the plasma cutter, but I generally tend to find that better hand cutting things and hacking things out. Okay, right, let's just clean this up. So, let's start measuring for the port side. Got to find my Sharpie. Right, I think we measured. A lot of time messing around with because I like to measure and double measure and just be absolutely sure that I know the size of the plate. There are some tolerances, so I can get away with some measurements, but some measurements need to be accurate. What I chose to do this time was I took the weld of the chine, it's where the top of the V section, and I ran a straight edge along it and clamped it here, and this enabled me to be able to take some measurements at the back directly along here to the centre. So here it is done. It might be a little bit messy to you, but I know what's going on here. I'll take those measurements home now, draw it up a little bit neater in a diagram and send it off to the fabricator. Okay, that's today done. See you tomorrow. Back again next day, and it's miserable and wet. Cold today, it's not a nice day at all. In fact, I'll show you here, look at the water that comes in from the outside of the boat. There you can see the water just comes in from underneath the boat, it gets driven in. A few of you have mentioned about putting some flooring in here. It's something that we're looking into, I'll be honest with you, but I didn't want to get delayed on getting this steel in just for putting the floor in. Every time we kind of step off to the side to do these jobs, it delays us a bit further, and I'm quite keen to get this steel in, ready to do other things in the spring. So while the heater's busy clicking away getting itself sorted out, I've got a little job to do just here. You can probably see, can you see this stringer here. It's a little bit thicker than the others. If I show you that, there's a bit of a gap there, and the reason behind that gap is the plate at the back wants pushing up a little bit so that it meets, and then I can tack weld it on, and that is what I'm going to do now. Right, so this bar that we put in, that Simon and I put in just to hold things in position, I'm going to take that out now to allow this plate just to take its natural shape, just in case it is interfering with it at all. So the next thing I want to do is prepare this bottom edge for the new plate, the port side plate, to be able to come up against the side. I'm going to have a change of plan as to how I did it last time. Last time I just kind of cut it. I think what I'm going to do on this side is I'm going to measure from here to the top of that lip, if you can see, because that's the old hull that we've pulled out, and I'll measure there, we'll measure at the back, and then I'm going to cut the bottom couple of inches out of the bottom of that plate, get it out of the way. I'd cut it a bit higher to where we're going to go back to good steel, but if I do that right now, I'm going to expose the side of the boat to the elements, because that's the outside there, and I don't want any more rain coming in than is already coming in at the moment. So let's just cut, well, less than an inch probably. Let's just cut the bottom off that after we've measured. So that little lip's out, so we can, so it doesn't get in the way of the steel. The last little clean-up job, you probably see, I ended up leaving this. I don't know why, but I've just got to cut that out and clean it up. I think there's a bit of a weld on there, and then we're ready for the new steel when it eventually turns up. So the last job, prepping this plate in the miserable cold. There's a bit of the old hull plate just there. I don't know whether you can see that. That's got to come out, and there's a little bit here. So I'm going to do that now. It's freezing. Look what I can see here underneath the boat. The wind and the rain. Can you see the rain? It's not too pleasant. I'm looking forward to Christmas. So this is looking a bit corroded. It's the only one that is. The rest look kind of okay. I know there's corrosion on them, but this looks fairly pitted and corroded. And I've got plenty of this, so I think it'd be prudent just to take this off and we can weld a new piece in. I think for the time being it'd be good to get it out of the way. It might help with lining the plate up. So I'm just going to cut that out. So I'm inside the stern. I'm inside the back. I'll just show you what I'm looking at in a minute, but I'm going to show you where the old bathing platform went. Because that actually forms a bit of a support, the old bathing platform, for the stern of the boat. And what I've got to do is start removing the old bathing platform that's still left here. I'll show you what I mean. So I've got a support post here, but this steel here that you can see is all rough cut out. This is the old bathing platform. And this has got to come out so that the new steel, when we put the new bathing platform in, can land here. And you can see there's a little bit here as well on the edges. This steel that's welded in, that is the old bathing platform. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start working my way around this, because it'll be a while till the steel comes to put it in this side, because it's Christmas. I'll get the order in, but I think it's going to be a while. But I'm going to start some of these dress-up jobs now while I'm hanging around and waiting for that steel. Brand new day, sat in my van, just surveying the weather. You get your weekly weather forecast again. Just thinking how miserable it is again, every single day, rain. And it saps your motivation. Anyway, I'm going to have to get inside there and do something in a minute. It's a little bit like having two wives, isn't it? You know, two beautiful wives, I'll say. Got to go in. Got to go and do something, battle this weather. Here, have a look. Isn't that just horrendous? Into the rain. Whoa. There we go. Anyway, just going to do a couple of hours today. Very sadly, I'm at work for the rest of the week and over the weekend. I've got to go and earn some money. As much as I'd love to spend all my time here at the boat, sadly, I've got bills to pay. So we'll do a few hours. I think this week's video is going to be a little bit short, but I'd rather produce you something every Friday, even if it's a little bit shorter than skipping weeks. I do apologise. Work does have to take priority, particularly because it's Christmas. Rachel expects a Christmas present, you know. And the problem is pretty wives are expensive. That's the trouble. Right, let's get something done. Boring stuff, I know, but I've got to get on now with just dressing up this steel here. I've not got many jobs that I can do really while I'm waiting for the steel, and I really wanted to get this ready and all prepped up. It's the simplest for me. It might be a little bit boring for you, so I do apologise. A big thank you to Steve Jarvis for the 2 welding blankets. Amazon wish list. Thank you, Steve. Anyway, check this out for the ladies. Oh, it's cold in here. Ship Happens. Did you know that Gemma from Ship Happens is actually making these by hand at the moment? That's fantastic. So go and check out Ship Happens. Go and buy yourself a t-shirt. Handmade by Gemma. Posted out to you if you live in the UK. Right, get my jacket back on. It's cold. So while I'm at the back cleaning this up, as you can see, I don't know the focuses. Get out of shot, Sean. Around here, there's this scabby bit just here that's quite corroded and quite thin. And I'm just thinking while I'm here, I might cut this out and let's see if we can quickly weld in a plate while we're actually round here. Be a good job for the rest of the afternoon. Okay, right, I just wanted to mention my Super JCB battery grinder. I'm not getting credited for saying this at all. I've not been asked to do a review. I've been given a healthy discount just for showing the tools in the video. But what I really love about this grinder is the narrow head. This now is a go-to, you know, when you need to get in somewhere narrow. The other grinders just don't get in. This gets in all the gaps. So I kind of really like them. I like them. The batteries last well, and the batteries seem to charge quickly as well with the charger. So, as I've said, I'm not being paid to review these at all. I do have a link in the description for the JCB tools. I'll put the link in for this grinder. It's not an affiliate link. I get absolutely nothing for it. Well, that's not quite true, because if lots of you click on that link, it's kind of got a cookie trail through to me. JCB are going to give me some clothing, which I think is coming anyway, and I'll probably get some healthier discounts on some other JCB stuff. And I kind of like the range, I do. The drill's fantastic, so's this grinder. Right, let's get some more done. I'm running out of time. I'm at work tonight at 5 o'clock, and it's 3:30. Let's get on. 5 inches by 7 inches, more or less. So we're in. I've offered this up, and we're going to mark this now and cut it out so that that plate fits into place. Now, we've cut out the rot here, we've cut out the rot on this part of the plate as well. Come on over here, camera. On 2 sides, so we'll be using 2 pieces of plate. I wanted to weld those in today, however, I've run out of time. It's now 4:10 and I'm at work at 5. We've got to dash home, get a shower. So in the meanwhile, I'm sorry we've ended on half a job, but I do thank you anyway for joining us. Thank you to all the subscribers, everybody that's donated, those who have helped us with our Amazon wish list, people who just watch, subscribe, give us a thumbs up, comment. To each and every one of you, thank you very, very much for watching. We really do appreciate it. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.